What is it like to do San Pedro with your parents? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we discuss all things money, marketing, and metaphysics. Now in this video, it's going to be a very special one because I'm actually going to be talking about what it was like doing San Pedro with my parents. Now, if you don't know what San Pedro is, then make sure you check out this video over here where I discuss my very first experience doing San Pedro. But essentially, San Pedro is a plant medicine just like ayahuasca is, and it really is such an amazing experience. And I wanted to create this YouTube video because I talked about it in my Instagram, how I was able to convince my parents to do San Pedro with me this time around, and everyone was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like how were you able to do that?
Oh my God!
And to be very honest with you, as someone that loves manifestation and has been manifesting for so many years now, this has been by far the greatest manifestation I have ever manifested, more than money, because my parents' mental health and their healing and their self-discovery is so much more important to me than any amount of money, right? So let's get straight into it. So this video, I really wanted to dedicate it to some of the people that have asked me over Instagram, like some certain questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your questions in this video, and then I'm going to talk about what it was like to actually do San Pedro with my parents, okay? So let's get started. I think the very first question is, how did you explain it to them, right? For them to actually do it, right? Like do it with you. So that process was a process, okay? It wasn't like, you know, over dinner where I'm like, hey mom, like, hey dad, do you want to do plant medicine with me? Do you want to do San Pedro with me? I think that the best way to convince someone to do something is to actually set an example, right? Like you are the role model that you want to become so that people are attracted to you, right? Like I literally wrote a book called Stop Chasing, Start Attracting. And essentially in my book, I talk about not chasing after things, but rather you want to focus on yourself so that you are attracting people to you, right? And so essentially my life has dramatically changed ever since I've done plant medicine, right? So I started my plant medicine journey 2 years ago when I did ayahuasca for the first time in Costa Rica. This is also the time when I adopted my dog Manny, and it was so funny because he actually was with us when we were in the ayahuasca ceremony. That was the first day that we got him. So he was like running around, he was 4 months old, and he was just watching us trip out, right? So it was just really cool to have him be a part of that experience. But essentially that was my first time. And ever since I did that, I've been such a huge proponent on plant medicine because I really do feel like it's like 10 years of therapy in one session, right? So again, if you have never tried ayahuasca or San Pedro is more of like a grandfather energy. It's much more lighter, and it's much more, I would say, if like you want to start off with plant medicine, that's a really good plant medicine to start off with. Now, to answer the question of like, again, how did I explain it to them? All I did was that when I went on my previous plant medicine journey, so I've done San Pedro now, I would say this is my third time. So the first 2 times I was super open with them about my journey, right? And so I think that what people are afraid of most of the time is that they're afraid of talking about themselves. People are so used to hiding who they actually are. And it's funny because I noticed that I trigger a lot of people and I get a lot of hate comments. And really, it doesn't matter to me because I know that I'm just a mirror for you. So if I'm triggering you, it's because there's something in me that you wish that you can be, right? And that you just can't be it. But I'm here to tell you that just be yourself, right? When I did San Pedro, like I was just very open with them. I have this relationship with my parents. And here's the thing, right? Like my parents are like stereotypical Asian parents. They go by the book. If you have not read my book, Stop Chasing, Start Attracting, like I lay out my entire childhood on here. And if you are, you know, a child from an immigrant family, then you would know the struggle of what it was like growing up with parents that have that type of mindset, right? So for them to actually do San Pedro is such a huge, like, I don't even know what it's called. It was just amazing, right? And so to answer that question, you know, how I explained it to them was that I explained to them my journey. And they were able to see my transformation, right? So I did San Pedro in the beginning of 2020. And just 2020 alone, like I manifested so much in my life. I made so much more in my business than I ever have. And then finally, like my relationship with my parents improved because of me doing plant medicine, that like they saw the effects that happened in my life. And naturally they were just curious, right? Like you don't try to convince someone to do something. You basically live your own life and people will start to notice you and they're like, hey, I want what she has. So let me just start to pay attention to what she's saying, right? And so essentially that's literally what happened, right? Like every time I would finish my San Pedro journey, and again, that was 2 times before this last time, I just talked about it openly, right? I was not afraid of talking about it. So essentially, you know, like that to answer that question, like you just have to live your own life in order for people to actually want to do what you're trying to tell them to do. I used to make the hugest mistakes. Ladies, I'm sure you understand this if you're in a relationship where you want your significant other or you want your fiance or your boyfriend to do something and you keep nagging them, right? And the more you nag them, the more they're not going to do it because they just don't want to listen to you. Well, guess what? Here's the perfect way to have someone actually listen to you. It's just stop paying attention to them and pay attention to yourself and your journey and your transformation, right? And guess what? I can guarantee you this, that they're gonna start noticing like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Why is she changing? Let me keep up. And then they will ask you about it. And then when they ask you about something, then, right, then you are seen as the expert. Most likely they will listen to you if they're the ones that are asking you for advice, right? This applies to business, this applies to relationships, this applies to friendships, this applies to everything, okay? Like you want to be the person that is not coming off with that needy energy, right? Like you're not trying to convince anyone to do anything. You are being yourself and people are attracted to you. Okay, so that's the answer to number 1. The second question that I had was like that the biggest hurdle for my parents is that they don't speak English, right? So how do I even explain, right, like what it is? Like what words do I choose and not choose to use? Okay, so my fiance actually invited his dad, and his dad actually doesn't speak a lot of good English, right? So he speaks Armenian, and you know, like it was quite difficult explaining to him what it was, but we were very honest with it, right? And what we also did was that we sent articles of people's San Pedro's experiences and we translated in that language. So again, there is nothing to hide, right? Like it's gonna be scary for some people because they're gonna think, oh my gosh, like what will my parents think because it's like illegal or that whatever. Like those are just like what is legal, right? So for instance, I'll give you a really good example, right? So personally for me, I think that the news is so bad for your mental health, yet so many people are watching the news, right? And I write about this in my book, right? And the thing is that so many people think that the news is so good for them. And it's not because it's good for them, but it's been conditioned by society that you need to watch the news in order for you to be up to date, right? Like that is conditioned. It's part of us being in the matrix, right? But the thing is that like you don't need to watch the news in order for you to survive. In any case, I don't ever watch the news and I still know semi what's going on. And here's the thing, it doesn't relate to me, right? So why would I purposely do this to myself? Why would I purposely stress myself out by watching the news, right? Like I would rather use that time to create a YouTube video, or I would rather use that time to train my team or to work with my clients, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It's like that is not anything that you want to worry about, right? So to answer that question, all you have to do is just be 100% honest with your own experience, right? So I think that sometimes people try to like teach something, like trying to convince something or someone to do something based off of theory, right? And for me, I personally like to teach based off of experience because I know that my experience may be different than yours, right? But it is nonetheless my experience. And so if I'm teaching from theory, then basically I am just teaching because what other people said. Like I have not gone through it myself. And in my opinion, like it's hard for you to teach from that point of view because you just haven't gone through that, right? And so for everything that I teach, whether that is in my business or in my marketing, it's something that I have personally gone through. And so that I have some clout to actually teach you whatever I've gone through. Whether or not you achieve it is, you know, it's none of my business, right? But at the same time, though, I can give you the right insight because I've gone through it, right? And so again, to answer that question, make sure you find an article that someone has gone through that experience, and it's not like an article from like CNN, right? Like it's an experimental article that explains what their experience was like, what happened, and then just translate it word for word and give it to your parents, right? And then finally, another question was, what realizations did you have? Like what stories came out of it? Okay, so first of all, let me get now into San Pedro and like what actually happened, right? So we did not take any pictures that day. You know, actually during ceremony, I don't even have my phone on me. I actually turn it off because I don't want to be on Instagram, or I don't want to be on social media while I'm like trying to heal, or while I'm trying to go through this, you know, this life-changing day, right? So it's turned off. And so that day, you know, my parents and I and my fiance and his dad, we came together, we did San Pedro together, and it was just amazing, right? Like this is the first time that my parents did any type of psychedelic or any type of plant medicine. So obviously in the beginning I was really worried, but anytime you do any type of plant medicine, you want to have the right intention, right? Like that's anything. That's not even just doing plant medicine, but just anything in life. You want to make sure that you have the right intentions before doing it.
You know, I read that washing dishes can be an excellent form of meditation. The key is that while washing the dishes, one should only be washing the dishes.
Just because you have that accent doesn't mean what you say isn't stupid.
And so my intention going in was that I wanted to be stepping into embodiment, right? So I teach about embodiment in my programs, but sometimes for me, like I'm also a human being, so I step out of embodiment, right? I'm not fully embodying who I want to be sometimes. And so my intention was that. And what was interesting was that because I was doing this experience with my parents, sometimes I feel like San Pedro shows you things that are completely opposite of what you want. So there's this thing called contrast, right? So in life, you know, when things are being contrasted, meaning that when the universe is giving you things that you don't want, it's really just showing you the opposite of what you do want, right? Because it's trying to show you like, hey, this is why you're not getting what you want, because this is what you're doing, right? It's literally shining this magnifying glass on this thing that you don't want, so that it's like a wake-up call to say, hey, this is actually what you do want, and this is what you need to stop doing, right? And so because my intention was to walk the walk embodiment, what ended up happening was that the whole like first like 2 hours, I was consumed with my parents. I was worried about them. I was like, how can I help them? You know, I was worried that they would have a bad trip. And so that was the medicine showing me how powerless I was, how much I was not embodying who I'm wanting to be, right? Because the person that I want to be is not going to be worried about what other people think about me, right? Or worried about other people in that sense, right? There's a level of like worrying about someone, and you may think that worrying about someone is good, but sometimes when you're worrying about someone, you're actually projecting just your own fears, right? So for instance, I feel like sometimes parents do this. And again, I'm not a parent yet, so maybe I'm not the right person to say this. But what I do know is that I went through my experience, and I'll share with you my experience, right? So the thing is that when I was worrying about my parents, I was actually being a parent, right? When parents worry about their kids. But the truth is that like in order for me to fully step into the person that I want to become, it's allowing them to have their own journey, and it's allowing them to have their own experience, and letting go and surrendering and trusting that the universe is taking care of them, right? Like we were with the shaman, and instead of like trying to control the situation and trying to take care of them, I could just trust that my shaman is taking care of them, right? And so the first 2 hours, you know, I was going through that experience of being very powerless, only to find that, oh my gosh, like that is what I don't want. I don't want to be powerless. And so I was able to switch out of that and essentially regain my power by just walking away and just doing my own thing. And that was when I realized that real power is not through force. Real power is not through concern or worry. That is not empowering anybody by worrying about them. Rather, you want to just do your own thing and trust that they have got it handled. They're like adults, right? Like they can do their own thing, and you don't have to worry so much. So that was my intention. It was really cool to see, you know, my parents and their own like individual intentions. For my mom, she really wanted to connect more with Buddha, and she wanted to connect with her mother, which is my grandmother, like her ancestors, and she literally got what she wanted, right? And so everyone's experience with San Pedro is different, but I think that the biggest thing that I got out of this experience doing San Pedro with my parents was that was exactly what I needed. I think someone mentioned to me how, oh, like, you know, if you do San Pedro with your parents, or if you do plant medicine with your parents, like, you're going to be worried about them, or like your energy is going to be directed away from them. Rather, I feel like that was the lesson I needed to learn, right? Like, I needed to learn to worry about my parents, to show myself how ridiculous it was when I am like just focused on other people, right? I think I literally wrote this down. Let me grab it actually. Right? So here are some of the things that I wrote down, and that is that, you know, all I need to worry about is myself. The only competition is me, and the darkness that I feel is not mine, and I am divinely protected, right? So these are the things that I wrote down while I was, you know, during the ceremony. And what I realized was that I was feeling all this darkness in the beginning, and the darkness is not even my own darkness, right? It was that I was worried about my parents, and so I was taking on their thoughts and thinking that they were mine. And so what ended up happening was that it relates to real life too, right? Whenever you are feeling anxious, right? Most of the time when you're feeling anxious, it has nothing to do with you. You think that it's because of you, but it's really because of the story that you have created in your mind, and or that you're around people that are causing you anxiety. So when you're able to distinguish those two types of energy, what ends up happening is that you can regain your power, right? Anyways, so the last thing I want to say is answering this question, which is like, you know, because when people say that San Pedro is a drug, like, what do I say to combat that negative connotation? So like I said earlier, people are going to have their opinion about plant medicine, right? If you're watching this right now, you're probably open to San Pedro, and you probably want to share it with a lot of people. A part of you might be feeling worried, like, okay, like, what would people think about me? Or what would my parents think about me? Or like, how do I explain this in the correct way? The truth is that you can only explain it the way you explain it, right? And again, everything can be looked at negatively, right? I look at the news negatively, right? And some people may think that the news is gold or it's God, right? Like, the point is that just because something is seen a certain way by the general public doesn't mean that you have to follow them. Like, you are not a sheep, right? You don't have to follow. Like, you can become your own person, and you can think your own way, you know? And so that's what I'm saying, is that, like, it's definitely difficult because of the fact that, like, we've been trained and conditioned to be accepted, wanting to be accepted by others and liked by other people. But I can promise you that when you are just authentically yourself, then you will always attract the right people, and you can just live freely. Like, I don't care, right? And because I don't care, I am able to do the things that I can do, not feeling restrained, right? So anyways, this was my journey with San Pedro with my parents. It was definitely different, very different than what it was like doing it by myself. But I wanted to create this video to hopefully inspire people. If you want to introduce plant medicine to your parents, or if you have a loved one that you feel like plant medicine would really help them get over their trauma or heal or whatever the case may be, and just know that, like, just be honest, right? Like, just be honest. You don't have to sugarcoat anything. And if they don't accept your honesty, then it's okay. You can continue being you. It's kind of like Mulan, right? Where there's this, if you guys have not watched the latest Mulan, I'm like so obsessed with it. But essentially with Mulan, you know, that evil witch or whatever her name was, like, she came out to be a witch or whatever, and she was banned by her people, whatever, right? Like, basically she became bad because she was not accepted for who she was. And then Mulan, you know, she came out as who she was, and she risked people not liking her or people banning her or whatever the case may be, but she stood firm on that, right? She stood firm on who she was. She was true to who she was.
I'm Hua Mulan. I will bring honor to us all.
And because of that, you know, eventually people warmed up to her, right? So again, you have to be true to yourself without any expectations, right? She didn't have any expectations that people would like her. She just was just truly herself. And so because of that, that is why she was able to gain the recognition and be liked by, you know, her people, and not just liked, but very honored, and just people loving who she is and the impact that she has created amongst many, many generations. So there you have it. I hope you like this video. Let me know in the comments any questions that you have around introducing your parents or your loved ones to San Pedro. I'm really excited to see them. And if you haven't already, check out these 2 videos over here or any future videos that I have. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.